There we go. Okay, let's review the questions then. So, you can see you flagged two questions, so there was two of them you weren't really sure about. Of course, the ones that aren't have come up wrong as well as flag will come up red. So let's end the test and have a look at them. Yeah, so because that test was the hardest test you could possibly take, we found a few questions there that you're going to learn something from. So that's good news in some respects. But remember, as I talked about at the beginning, this isn't the normal test. This is a more difficult one.
Mhm.
So let's just see what areas we got and where we are. Number two, then. So you're driving a vehicle, a car fitted with automatic transmission. Yeah, have you heard of this kickdown before?
No.
No, it's actually something that you wouldn't think about really because when you think about as a new driver, you don't really overtake that much, do you?
Yeah.
You're normally sitting behind vehicles all the time. And so you get the opportunity to overtake more when your speed limit increases, when you're allowed to go up to 70 miles per hour. And what actually happens in some of the automatic cars is when you want to overtake someone, you actually press the accelerator really hard, right?
Mhm.
And what that actually does is and that's the expression kick down, you
Yeah.
see, because you're actually kicking down with your foot quite quickly. It actually makes the car drop a gear, if you like, and
Mhm.
goes faster.
Yeah.
So it's used for overtaking that asset in a automatic car. So that's why they call it kick down because you're technically kicking down with your foot. Now there used to be
Mhm.
buttons that you pressed with your right foot as well, so they might have came from that originally. But nowadays, most of the EVs and electric cars, they don't need a kick down because the transmission is so quick. So I'd imagine that this kick down will be, this won't be around for much longer, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's a new one for you, so you flagged it as well. So it's a tough one. Okay, so Toucan Crossing. Now the here's how I remember. Here's how I like to use this one as a for a memory trigger. Okay, a memory trigger is like you know a way of remembering it. Now we know it's a crossing for pedestrians. Okay, so Toucan, Toucan. So you can use that Toucan. So Toucan, of course, one and two.
Mhm.
A cyclist and a pedestrian. So it's actually a wider crossing. It's specifically made for to allow cyclists and pedestrians to cross, and so it's a bit wider. And also the button that you would press, to stop the traffic is higher up, so that a cyclist can actually, reach it as well. So it's a wee bit higher up than normal. So there you go. There's another one you hadn't come across before. So well done. That's a good one. Um, happy enough with that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'll clear that. Okay, question five. What does it mean if you see a pedestrian with a dog that has a yellow or burgundy coat? You don't see that very often, do you?
No.
No, I don't think I mean, I don't think I've maybe seen it once, this,
Mhm.
but yeah, you normally see a person who has a white stick. Of course, you can see straight away that they're having trouble. Their vision is impaired. But the pedestrian is deaf. You see, what they do is the dog, they have a dog with them, and they may be blind, of course, and they may also have problem with hearing. So that's how they allow everyone to know that there's both things maybe going on. That you have a person with visual impairment plus they might not hear, and it's quite relative because if you think about it, you as a driver, to be aware of someone that may have these disabilities is very important because they might walk onto a crossing or they might be on the road or something, and they won't hear your
Yeah.
horn, you see. So yeah, you would keep an eye out for a person who has got a dog, and also the dog is actually wearing either a yellow or a burgundy sort of reddish coat,
Yeah.
give you some additional information. But again, another question that's quite very tough, and you can see now what I mean about this being the toughest test possible.
Yeah.
You'd be lucky if you got maybe five of these questions or 10 of these questions even in your whole test. you
Yeah.
know. So if you can get these questions, if you can remember these ones, guess what? You're going to be well on your way to pass the normal test, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So remember, this is like I say, reiterate, this is the hardest test. So you don't be too disappointed by not getting them all right. That's for sure. Okay, 6. So we've got our road signs now. Some good news for you here is when you're looking at signs, they sometimes actually tell you the answer. Yeah. So that because if you read or listen to this here a second,
Which sign means that there may be people walking along the road?
so you see what you've got here is
Oh,
first of all, yeah,
no, I don't know.
yeah, you can see, but this person it's not a warning sign, it's a circle, which is an order for starters. So it's not a warning of something. So it's telling you it's an order, no something, no people or no pedestrians. So, but the other thing is they're walking across.
Yeah.
Look at the direction they're walking. It kind of tells you a little bit about what the sign is saying. They're walking across the road. This one is walking across the road.
Hmm.
This one has got cyclists and pedestrians. So it doesn't say anything about that in the question. So
Hmm.
So you can kind of see that the only correct answer has to be this one because it's first of all they're walking towards you, so we're walking along the road as towards you is along, and it's a warning, so it's telling you that the up ahead, in advance, this is telling you that this will be in advance. This will be down the road a little bit. So again, it's a warning of something that's about to happen.
Yeah.
Again, so that's what the triangles are always about, warning about something that's about to happen. You see. So
Yeah.
hopefully that'll help you now the next time you see a question about signs to look at them because sometimes they actually give you the answer,
Hmm.
which is amazing. A good tip, that one, look
Yeah.
for the answer they sometimes tell you by mistake. Okay, let's see what else we got. 12. Okay, so what should you do if you park on the road when it's foggy? No, it's this is like I say, these are the tough questions. This is leave parking lights switched on. Well, you see, that's what people don't think is the correct answer because they think, well, why would I ever leave my lights on?
Yeah.
And but you think about it, it's the only answer there that's correct because leave dipped headlights switched on. Well, if you did that, you're going to cause problems for your battery for starters. It's going to go flat on you. And leave main beam headlights definitely not. That's the really bright ones.
Yeah.
Leave dipped headlights and fog lights switched on. Well, you can't do that. You can't leave them on if you park the car because you're parking the car. If you think about it, you're parking the car, and the fog might disappear actually. So you now got your fog lights on when you shouldn't have, and that's against the law
Yeah.
because visibility has to be, as I'm sure you know, down to 100 meters visibility before your fog lights are used. So that and also
Hmm.
can confuse drivers. It give too bright. But if you
Yeah.
think about it now, they've actually given you the answer to this one as well. And you can see the wording tells you. So it says leave parking lights. See?
Hmm.
What does it say in the question?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, it's not that obvious. You have to look at these things and see that they've actually told you the answer. So they have leave parking lights if you want to park. And of course, do you know what the parking lights are? Do you know what they?
No.
Well, in your car, you have the very small lights. The first little adjustment when you turn the switch to build up your headlights, if you like. You start off with the small lights, which are the parking lights, and they're on the front and the rear of the vehicle, and they are what they say in the tin. They're for parking and leaving your vehicle overnight in places with the speed limit
Hmm.
above 30 miles per hour, for example, when there's no street lights.
Yeah.
You can leave your parking lights on all night, and there's a very small light, so there's not a big drain on the battery.
Yeah.
You see, there's very little power, and so that's the reason why you wouldn't leave any other lights on. That's for sure. You come out, your battery would be flat, and
Hmm.
you'd have to get somebody to push start to start it, And
Yeah.
reminds me of the first car I had, of course. It, you had to always park it on a hill. It wouldn't start.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Yeah, happy enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's have a look at the next one. Okay, 13 then. Okay, so this is it's giving you a picture of a road. And you can see two things in this picture. First of all, you can see there's a bend up ahead, a corner, isn't there? Can you see that? Okay. Yeah, you can see this is how you know there's a bend, by the way. You can see this big block of trees. Look,
Mm-hmm.
that's like a wall. I call it like a wall, you see. That's telling you that you're coming to a sharp turn to the right or left when you look ahead. It's like, that's like an advanced driving thing. You know, if you're driving a wee bit quicker, you know, you can look ahead and you see this big wall of trees or a big wall of fence. Well, you know you're coming to a sharp bend, you see. So that's one thing that's telling you about that. But the other thing sometimes is this here, look, the space between these white lines. If you haven't seen this before, you see there's quite a big space there, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a normal space. It's actually, if you'll do it in red, just so you, this is what a normal road looks like. Look,
Mm-hmm.
you see, look. So the big white stripes, if you like, are telling you that you're actually coming to a hazard. You see big long white lines, you know. And I sometimes like to use this memory trigger. I sometimes say, well, if you think about it, the more paint you have on the road, the more paint, as in here,
Yeah.
the more danger
Mm-hmm.
or the more restriction that
Yeah.
you'll find. Of course, you can see that in some roads there are, I'll change the color of this thing because it's a bit confusing. But in some roads it's like this here, like, small.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no danger. That's a normal lane marking that you would find. Then you have this one, of course, which is telling you, okay, we've got a build-up, we've got a bit of a hazard up ahead. Then you have a straight white line,
Yeah.
which is telling you, no, we got real bad news here. No overtaking here for sure. And then, of course, you have the two white lines in the center of the road. It means you can't overtake from both sides of the road. In other words, traffic coming this way can't overtake, and traffic coming the other way can't overtake. So, yeah, so you see if the white line basically like this, and I'll show you that again because this is a question that comes up. You couldn't cross this white line. You're not allowed to cross that to overtake something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't overtake a slow moving vehicle, a bicycle or something like that at 10 miles per hour. That's fine. It's like a road sweeper. And if someone's coming this way, but they have a different set of rules because if the dotted line is on their side,
Mm-hmm.
then they're actually allowed to overtake. You see that? They can cross that dotted line because it's white and it's on their side. But traffic coming this way, they can't cross that white line. They're not allowed to. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things with road markings, but just remember the hazard line. That's it. The more paint, the more danger. It's a good way of remembering it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. Okay, when may you overtake on a one-way street? That's a trick question, isn't it? These are really tough questions. I'm going to draw this a wee bit for you because this is really confusing. This one too. So when may you overtake on a one-way? Where may you overtake on a one-way street? Sorry, either right or the left. Well, what they're trying to tell you here is in a one-way system, right? All right. So this is a T junction. Excuse the drawing. This with a mouse. So, and one thing you would notice about a one-way street actually, it's good thing to remember, is the dotted line you normally get like this for a giveaway line. It stops here normally, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, in a one-way system, it doesn't. It goes right across the road. And that's good for drivers, you see, because if you're a driver here, then you know that you can't drive in here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're looking for a right turn somewhere, and it could be down here, maybe. And
Yeah.
your sat nav tells you turn right now, as they do. Get us all in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't because that's a double dotted set of lines there. You see that?
Yeah.
So if you were coming up this road now and you're on your driving test, for example, and the examiner said to you, at the end of the road, I want you to turn on this occasion left. and there's a car here who's in this lane for turning right. So you're allowed to overtake it, you see,
Yeah.
because this lane here is for traffic that wants to turn right, and this lane is for traffic that wants to turn left. So that for that reason, you can overtake on either the left or the right. And that's a one-way system. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Happy days. You're driving at night with your headlights on main beam. That's the really bright ones. You know, the blue ones, where they're really, really bright. And you'll have a little blue light on the dashboard telling you you've put them on.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to know where they are for the driving test. Examiner might ask you to show them how to put on the full beam or main beam.
Yeah.
So a vehicle overtaking you, when should you dip your headlights? What they're saying here is, you've got your really bright lights on, all right, and you're driving along the road. There'll be no street lights, or you wouldn't have them on in the first place. So it's a country road, probably Class B road, not an A road, and you're got your full lights on, your really bright ones, the blue lights shown on the dashboard, and you know there's someone coming up behind you now, and they want to overtake you, right? And you find that happens a lot, of course, if you're a new driver. You get cars coming up behind you, want to overtake you, and this is the scenario. This is you here. And you've got, I'll put this out like that because that's what your bright lights would look like, the big, massive spread of light. Okay. Now, if the vehicle comes up behind you like this and wants to overtake you, there's two things can go wrong here for you. If you take these lights off too early, what would happen?
You can't see where you're at.
There you go. Perfect. You wouldn't see, and therefore it would be really dangerous, right? So you would wait until they just about pass you like this, because you're not you're not blinding them or anything, and you're actually helping them a little bit actually to see the road ahead of themselves. And as soon as they start to pass you, then you don't want to put them bright lights on that car, because that car won't be able to see from their mirrors and it could dazzle them. So for that reason, you actually switch them off at that point.
Yeah.
Or they use the word dip. Dip the headlights. They don't use the word switch off. They use or turn down. They use the term dipping your lights or dipping your headlights. It basically just means you're turning the full beam, the blue light off, and just you're getting left with your ordinary headlights, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's a bit confusing that people say, what's a dip headlights? What's the headlights? What's the main beam? And you kind of think there's all these different lights on a car when you've only really got the three. You know, you've got your parking light, you've got your headlights. That's the ordinary ones for driving around at night with street lights and that. And then you've got your full beam. So the actual action of taking it off the full beam, it's putting it back really to headlights, isn't it? So, yeah, you really only got the three. If you think about it like that, it's much easier for you in your mind. Really hard questions, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really quite surprised at them actually. So I'm looking at them going, whoa, this would be if you got this test, you'd be like, oh no, just rebook it straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just book it straight away. Okay, can you achieve what can you achieve if you drive smoothly? Well, we did talk about this one, I think, before. It's just trying to remember the saving of the fuel is, is about 15%. They use the word consumption, which is normally relative to a human being eating stuff. So it's energy, I suppose, fuel consumption by about 15%. So yeah, you would save, you can save that, reduce the amount of fuel used by 15%. Well, I suppose you think about it logically. If you drive fast to get to somewhere, you'll get there quicker, right? But it'll cost you more energy to do so.
Yeah.
And that's the facts, right? So it's like, anyway, if you're going to walk somewhere, or run somewhere, if you run somewhere, you're going to use a lot of energy. You need a Mars bar or something.
Yeah.
If you're walking there, you won't need to. You're right. You don't need the energy so much. You don't need the sugar, the carbohydrate.
Yeah.
So that's why consumption gets used, because it's usually relative, something that we could understand, because consumption is food or energy, really, isn't it? So
Yeah.
now, of course, we're dealing with all different types of energy now, electricity and cars. Okay, and yeah, they use a lot of energy very quickly if you go fast in an electric car. It's one of the things people don't realize. You know, if you drive fast in an electric car, your power goes down really quick, you know. So it's all about driving
Yeah.
steadily.
Mhm.
Okay, 18 then. A night, what does it mean if you see a pedestrian? Okay, you ever see one of these, take a photograph and send it to me, okay?
Mhm.
I've never seen an organized walk with someone with a red light.
Yeah, never seen it.
No, again, that's a tough question, but it is the highway code, and it is in the highway code. You can take that to the bank. So if
Mhm.
you were driving up a road and you saw a red light, of course it would attract your attention, but just be aware that that's probably an organized walk, so people out doing a charity walk or something. So yeah,
Yeah.
good one, good question to remember that one. That's another tough one that you don't really imagine is correct. You know, you think, what's that about? Yeah,
Yeah.
roadworks is a good answer. That's what, you know. I would only say one thing about roadworks. They normally have amber lights for any obstruction on the road. There will be a red light there too for traffic lights, of course, but normally amber is the color you look for roadworks or gritting lorries or, you know, repairs and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This guy's got a triangle in the back of his car, and he's decided that he's going to give everybody a warning as they come up to him because he's broke down and he's fixing his tire or something. I don't know. But so I suppose 45 is a good way to remember that might be 45 to stay alive. There's a wee poem for you. 45 to stay alive. That's just a warning because if you're going to do some work for traffic coming up behind you, if you're going to be doing some work at your car, fixing the battery or fixing the tire, you know, if that's what you're going to be doing, guess what? You get cars coming up behind you quickly, so that's a good thing to do. Let's put that out.
Yeah.
45 meters is what they say. So 45 to stay alive.
Mhm.
That's a good wee poem to remember. We'll call it a memory trigger. Okay, 22 then. You want to put a rear-facing baby seat in the front seat of a car. What must you do? Protected by a frontal airbag. Yeah, these baby seats, putting them in the front of the car. I mean, an airbag comes up very fast and hard, right? So that's just probably not a great idea to have one in the front car if it's got an airbag, and most cars have airbags, so it's better in the back for that reason.
Yeah.
But if you put it in the front, there is a little switch down at in the passenger side, which usually is a screwdriver to turn it actually clockwise or anti-clockwise and
Yeah.
to switch it off. Yeah, so
Mhm.
you can deactivate it if you're going to use put a child in the front of a car or use one of these rear facing baby seats. Do you know why they're saying rear facing, don't you? Because it means if the airbag comes up, it pushes the chair
Um.
into the baby's face actually and into the chair.
Mhm.
So that's definitely not something that you'd want to do under any circumstances there, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, 24. Again, another nightmare of a question, but 24. What colors follows the green signal at a puffin crossing? Now, they've kind of tricked you here, I'm afraid. Now, this is the classic trick, I'm afraid. We did talk about this a bit before, I think, but maybe I'll go over a wee bit with you now because there is only one set of pedestrian crossing lights that has a flashing amber.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? Do you know which one it is?
No.
It's the Pelican crossing. The Pelican crossing is the only one that has a flashing amber phase.
Mhm.
And it follows red on the way down. Red, then flashing amber. And that allows you as a driver, by the way, if it's flashing amber and there's no pedestrians on the crossing, you can go.
Yeah.
It's for only the rare occasions that you can actually go on an amber light. In fact, it's only time. You know, you can get the car ready to go on an amber light sometimes, but you can't actually go on it. Green's the only one that says go.
Mhm.
So yeah, a flashing amber is only found on a Pelican crossing. And all of the other ones, and this is just for yourself when you're playing this video back or anyone else listening to it, is remember that. It's the only one that has a flashing amber phase. Traffic lights, that is, when you get your three lights. There
Yeah.
is like a little flashing amber light that you have on a warning that you're at a school, but that's not a set of traffic lights. It's actually just two, lights which flash amber, top
Mhm.
and bottom, but that's not a set of traffic lights. That's just a warning for you. All right. telling you to be aware that you're at a school and there could be kids crossing. But yeah, so just to reiterate, the only one that you'll ever have a flashing amber light on will be the Pelican crossing.
Yeah.
Already. Again, like most people would get that question wrong, just so you know. That's a tough one. Okay, 25. Okay, so we got our, this is to do with parking, right? Now you went for no stopping at all.
Yeah.
All right. Now we could use my little idea about the more paint, the more danger if you want on this one. Because let me explain to you. You're not far away, of course, because it is weight and restrictions applies. You can see that. But the reason you got confused is the one that I'll just badly draw this, of course, with my mouse. But the one that you're thinking about looks like that.
Oh, yeah.
Look, see?
Yeah.
Something like that, anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, it should be a bit further down, anyway. But yeah, like an X, right? So, and so yeah, it'd be more like yeah, it was better. Something like that.
Mhm.
Get the idea anyway. So it's yeah, that's what the one you were thinking of. Yeah, if you park your car there, you'll come back and somebody will have a sticker on it. And if you don't come back for it, they'll take it away and turn it into a tin of beans. It'll end up a tin can in a scrapyard.
Yeah.
They don't like you parking here at all. So this is bad news for you if you do that. So, but yeah, the ordinary one is just basically got one line. And that's just a waiting restriction, you know, and they'll usually that will usually be accompanied by a time. You know, like 8 o'clock to 9 or something like that. It's usually in the morning time. They don't want you to park in places, so they always put the times on it which you're not allowed to park. So if it's like says a wee signpost comes up and says 8 o'clock to 10, then you're not allowed to park there. But therefore after that you can, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why they call it waiting restrictions. So there's times that you might not be able to do it and times that you can.
Mhm.
Yeah, there we go. But you can't stop to drop off passengers. Okay, that's allowed, and pick them up. You know, that's
Yeah.
not parking, right? Okay, so you've got this one as a classic one as well. People get this one wrong all the time for this very simple reason is it actually confuses people because it's you think about it as a motorway, of course you do, and you think it's the end of something, so you go for lane ends, of course, end of motorway or something like that. But in actual fact, when you drive along a motorway, there's these digital signs come up with warnings to you of something that's happening up ahead, like a traffic jam or a road traffic accident. And whenever the problem has been resolved as you drive along the motorway, because remember, motorways can be like, they can be like 100 miles long.
Yeah.
So every 10 miles, you get maybe one of these signs that will tell you fog or, you know, slow down or heavy rain or something, you know, speed limit change actually, maybe. So you pay attention to them, but then all of a sudden you come across and it says end.
Mhm.
Well, it means that what you've been told before on the previous sign, that's finished.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's a good one to remember. Really is. I mean, I could tell you I have seen this one wrong nearly every paper I've ever marked.
Yeah.
Yeah, people think it's the end of motorway. Try to remember. It's the end of what you saw previously as you were driving along. Okay, when a police officer sticks their arms up, it's everyone's got to stop.
Oh.
And again, the reason why you got it wrong is exactly what I would have thought.
Yeah.
She's telling you, you know, to turn right or something, isn't she? Did that
Yeah.
because of the way the arm is? Yes, and it's a classic again. It's again one of these ones you guarantee you'll get wrong if you don't remember what we're doing now. If they pick their arms up, this is for the traffic it's coming towards her to stop, okay?
Mhm.
And the arm that's going out to the side is the traffic that's coming behind her is also told to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So don't worry about getting that one wrong. That's another classic. So yeah, these are horrible. I just give you the worst test in the world, didn't I, really?
Yeah.
It's okay. You'll learn a lot from it. That's the main thing. That's what we're here for. Every question you learn from on these sessions, they're one that you've learned that you'll not hopefully get wrong again. That's the idea behind these sessions, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you were here and you were getting none of these wrong, then guess what? You would not much point being here, really, is there?
Yeah.
No, exactly. So don't worry about it. Okay, so let me see what we got here. 30. You want to turn right at a box junction. What should you do if there's oncoming traffic? Okay, so you can't turn right at a box and drive on. You can't turn right at a box. Well, you can. All right, so that's why that's not the right answer. You can turn right at a box junction, but what you're thinking of is there's oncoming traffic, isn't that right? And that's why you said you can't turn right. I get it. I get why you said that. But it's more of a statement that's, that's more of a statement saying drive on. You're not allowed to turn right at a box junction. That's not the case. We know we can turn right. I'll just draw a little bit of this one for you, and just a wee bit to let you see what it's about. So you've got a shape like this, which is a crossroads usually, yeah?
Yeah.
And then they have what I call the potato waffle in the middle of it. Yeah, it looks like that, something like that. It's in yellow. Anyway, that's what it roughly looks like. So what they're referring to here is, okay, if you're coming up to one of these things and you want to go from here, and you want to go all the way around to there. So you want to go from A to B. All right. What they're saying to you is, you're going to have to come into the center here. You can't make a good decision to turn right from way back here. And the rule is that you shouldn't go into this unless you can drive out of it again. That's what the rule is. It's a box junction rule. You should not enter a box junction unless you can drive right through it.
Yeah.
However, if you intend turning right, they do allow you to come in and wait for this traffic here to finish. They do allow you to do that if you're only waiting for these guys and gals to go.
Yeah.
But the overall rule is the same as I said at the beginning. You should not even go into this at all if this road here wasn't clear. So say there was a traffic jam here.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to go into it because you know you can't get out of it. Is that all right? So you should never enter a box junction unless you can drive right through it, even if you're turning right. However, turning right, this is the only time you can actually wait. If you intend to go that way, and the only reason that you've stopped in here is to allow all these other people to get out of your road.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. That's a hard one again. Again, I would have expected that one to be on this paper. I've seen it's the hardest questions. So not by chance it's there, because the reason why is everyone gets it wrong. Try to remember, you should never enter a box junction unless your exit from it is clear. However, you can when you intend to turn right.
Yeah.
And the only reason you're not is because of oncoming traffic. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So you're in a line of traffic. What action should you take if the driver behind is following very closely? Well, that's happening a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
And slow down gradually is the only way you can really solve this, because what you're doing is you're increasing the gap from the vehicle that's in front of you. And that means that if the vehicle in front of you does an emergency stop, you won't crash into the back of them, and get the guy behind you to crash into the back of you because he's too close to you or she's too close to you. So it looks like this, There's the cars, and so this is the first situation. So you're keeping your proper distance as you've been taught, but then this person comes up like this, and so he's too close to you.
Yeah.
This distance. So he says what you would do then. So this is this car here now in front of you, and this is you now. So you now make your gap here. So this person can't be that close to you now, and it means if this person brakes heavy, you don't have to brake heavy, and that way this person won't crash into the back of you. So all you do is extend this gap to maybe twice the braking distance that it would normally be.
Yeah.
All right. So you've doubled that distance, you see. So increased your distance. And that stops you from having the accident. And that's the answer to that one. And that, again, another tough question. So, nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 2032 then. You're traveling in the left-hand lane of a 3-lane motorway. How should you react to traffic joining from a slip road? Yeah. So that's basically the situation where you're in a fast-moving road, and you've got traffic that's trying to come onto the motorway. Apart from at the beginning of it, there's these little areas they can join, and they call them slip roads. So as you drive along, you'll see that person coming along the slip road, and you can help them a little bit by changing over to the right lane if you can, or reducing your speed or adjusting your speed to allow them to come in front of you, or to get past them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can either speed up or slow down or change lanes
Mm-hmm.
to help them come onto the motorway. All right. Sometimes you can't
Yeah.
change lanes because there could be traffic in the lane.
Yeah.
You can't move across, can you? Because there may be someone there. So you may have to just adjust your speed then on that occasion.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see what we got here then. 36. Okay. Other than direction indicators, how can you give signals to other road users? Your fog lights is given a signal of some type, I suppose. It reference fog, but the best answer here, again, it's one that you wouldn't expect. It's actually your brake lights are giving a signal to other drivers. What does a brake light tell a driver that's coming up behind you?
Stop. Slow down. Stop.
Yeah, exactly. It's telling the driver that's behind you that, guess what, you're actually slowing down or maybe even stopping. So, or and that should tell them. That's telling them. So that is a signal. Your brake lights is a signal to other drivers.
Yeah.
Already. All right, so we got a picture again then, and this one's showing you a level crossing for the trains, isn't it? Now you're driving towards this, okay? You can imagine you're driving towards this, and the first warning you see, the very first warning is always going to be an amber light, because amber's telling you it's time to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see if obviously as you drive up to them and it's past that stage, the barriers will be down, okay, telling you you're not allowed to go. But the first warning, you see, the first warning will always be before the barriers come down. They'll always put an amber light on for you. An amber light, you see,
Yeah.
to tell you to stop at that white line. Don't go past it. And then you'll get red. You'll get red next. And then the barriers will come down. So it's a three-stage operation. The first thing is the amber light. That's the first warning. Second will be the red lights, which will tell you that's definitely danger now. And then the third but last will be the barriers come down, and of course at that stage the train will follow probably shortly afterwards. I mean, if you were actually crossing one of these and the lights started to go, the amber light or anything, you finish what you started. Of course, it's like an ordinary set of traffic lights. If you're that close to the white line and the amber light comes on, you don't do an emergency stop. You just go over it. Yeah, you would never do that, and you would probably, a good tip is never to follow a line of traffic, like a traffic jam. If you're traveling very slowly and the amber light comes on, you can stop, okay.
Yeah.
41 then, when will you feel the effects of engine braking? You see, we're not really used to that, are we?
No.
No, we don't have this one. Electric cars or modern cars, automatics, hybrids, they don't have clutch and gearbox such.
Yeah.
So therefore, you don't have the facility there to change down the gear. But what they do have is in the eco mode, they actually brake for you, don't they, to charge up the battery. So you have the effect of braking from the actual transmission.
Yeah.
The transmission being the actual source of your energy, if you like, in the electric vehicles in particular. So going down a hill, the car will actually, you'll have your foot on the brake and an automatic, and the vehicle will actually be braking for you actually and charging the engine up as you come down. But so you might get that question coming up. Actually, they might change the question bank a little bit to represent electric vehicles. And so yes, your foot would be on the brake and you would be coming down the hill, and you would be slowing down by using the transmission itself, the charging system. But a manual car, if you're doing a manual car test, you can select first gear or second gear, and they won't allow the car to go any faster than the speed they were designed to go at. So like first gear, the maximum speed is 10 to 15 miles per hour. So if you're going down a very steep hill in a manual car, you can put it into first gear and the car will not go any faster than the speed that gear was made to or designed to represent.
Yeah.
Happy days. Okay, so we talked about the parking signs earlier and no waiting signs and clearways, and this is a warning to drivers that you're in an area that has these signs. And when you pass that area, there's this sign to tell you that you've now moved out of that area where those signs were effective.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all it means. So, yeah. So it looks like the speed sign. It looks like the white circle, the black line. I get that, and that's why people get it wrong. So try to remember that one. It's not the same as a white circle with a black line. It's to do with parking again. So end of restricting parking area. And once you see that, you know understand. Okay, oh yeah, it's the parking one. So they don't put them up really like that for any speed limit sign changes. That's only to do with parking.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see what 45 is. And you're waiting to emerge at a junction, which means you're waiting to come out of a junction. And your view is very restricted by people parking. And we've seen that a lot, haven't we?
Yeah.
We have to do a peep and a creep, as I like to call it, when you have to sneak forward and have a good look before you emerge onto the main road. So what can help you to see traffic on the road you're joining? Well, this is a classic one actually, and you might have come across this, and you just maybe this will trigger your memory a little bit. Some of the roads that you've been on already says you come around like that, and there's a road like that, for example, and this is us coming up to this T junction as a stop line, for example, because it's hard to see, the normally are stop lines, which means that you must stop, right? Don't have to put the handbrake on, but you must stop, right? You don't have to put the handbrake on unless it's a hill, of course. But so there's a house here. See?
Yeah.
All right. So there's a car parked here, which has ruined your day. You've come up like that, and you're in a good position. But guess what? You can't see. You can't see past this car. And guess what? There's a motorbike here. Excuse the
Yeah.
drawings. All right, so you got a motorbike, but guess what? In the shop window or the house, you will actually see a reflection of this.
Mhm.
You see that?
Yeah.
So by looking here, you can actually tell what's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. So as you come up, you would stop first, and you could use the shop windows or the people's houses just before you make the final decision to go, because you've looked obviously both ways and you've seen nothing, but now you look here, and you would still, of course, peep and creep, all right? You still come out slowly because you may not see whatever's in here, because it could be a small motorbike or a small bicycle or something, So you would still have to be very careful to peep and creep forward to here until you could actually see properly before you
Yeah.
make the final decision to go. And of course, we call that peeping and creeping, don't we?
Yeah.
Peep and creep. Yeah, that's the best way to remember that one.
Mhm.
Always have a good look before you go.
Yeah.
47. What's the main cause of skidding? This is a question that people get wrong all the time, because there is 1,000 reasons you could think about why a car skids, isn't there?
Yeah.
And you've got the right one, of course, weather. And what you're referring to is what?
Ice.
Ice, of course. Snow, ice. Indeed. And but here's why they say it's the driver's fault. You were driving when you shouldn't have been driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit unfair, I think, this one, to be honest with you. The main cause, but remember they've used the word main, the main cause, not the only cause, but the main cause of skidding.
Mhm.
Drivers driving too fast around corners, you see.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And then, of course, poor maintenance. The car might not have the proper tires, you see. So
Mhm.
so the main cause, remember the wording of this is important. The main cause is going
Yeah.
to be drivers, but there's a lot of reasons why a vehicle skids, and it's really out of driver's control on some occasions, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Severe weather. But as a new driver, I would always say, especially coming into the winter time, ask the question: do you need to drive? If it's really bad weather, taxis or whatever, bus. You know,
Mhm.
why take the chance in a collision if it's really bad weather? And where weather can be a bit extreme, it's getting worse. You know, lots of heavy rain causing flooding, and cars don't like water, especially when it goes in the engine. It's a tendency to make them, you know, go to the scrapyard before their time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, weather conditions. You know, have a think about that when you pass this test and you're out driving around.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And 48 then. Okay, so we got the videos then. So I'm going to put this one on full screen so we can have a look at it. And you've got the gap for driving on a wet road wrong, basically.
Mhm.
So wet conditions, the gap between you and the vehicle in front should be 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You went for 2, which is normal distance.
Mm.
The 2-second rule, right? That's what you're probably remembering. That's
Yeah.
why. But yeah, it doubles up for wet. Do you know what it is for snow or ice? Do you know what that is?
No.
It's actually 10 times, would you believe?
Mm.
My, 10 times, could you imagine that?
Mm.
At a busy
Yeah.
road. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, 4 seconds for a wet road. 2 and
Yeah.
4. 2-second rule. And sometimes you can use that when you're falling behind a vehicle to see if you're too close. When the vehicle in front of you passes a landmark like a lamppost, you can count yourself. You can say, only a fool breaks the 2-second rule.
Mhm.
That works. And then, of course, if it's 4 seconds, you could say it twice.
Yeah.
Or you can do 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, you know. So when the vehicle in
Mhm.
front passes some kind of a landmark, you can begin that. And if you're still saying the poem when you pass the landmark, you're too close. Now that works for any speed, so you can use that in your driving test, of course, because if you do go too close to a vehicle in front of you, in dry or wet conditions or ice, you will actually be failed for that because it's actually against the highway code, you see. That's a highway code mistake, right? So we can't do
Yeah.
highway code mistakes on a test, I'm afraid. So yeah,
Mhm.
2-second rule in 4 seconds, dry and wet. Okay, another wee video for you. What do you got this one? When may you overtake another vehicle on their left? Their left. Ah, we got that one already. So there's 2 questions you've got. You'll know the answer to next time.
Mhm.
The one-way street.
Yeah.
Now, I think this answer you give, by the way, is not a wrong answer in some respects. I want to show you this one because this one, I'm going to draw a little diagram for this one because what you're referring to, actually, I think you've read this in the Highway Code, actually, and this is why you've answered that because you were kind of right in some respects. So let me just show you. So there's a dual carriageway, which means it's a one-way system, and you've got 2 lanes of traffic, okay?
Yeah.
I think this is what you were thinking about. You've got 2 lanes of traffic, and they're in a traffic jam.
Mhm.
All right, you got traffic in the left lane and traffic in the right lane. So the answer to that is, can you overtake on the left side of this vehicles? Well, you may have no choice in the matter, to
Mhm.
be honest with you, because the traffic in the left lane might be moving quicker than the traffic in the right lane.
Yeah.
So an actual fact is you've had to overtake on the left, whether you liked it or not. And the
Mhm.
actual highway code then and the law allows that. So you are allowed to overtake on the left on a dual carriageway when traffic's traveling in queues. But
Yeah.
that's not what that answer is here. That says something like that. But it
Mhm.
says when a slower vehicle is traveling in the right lane of the dual carriageway, which it's kind of correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this year, but it said a slower vehicle. Slower vehicle. It didn't say slower vehicles.
Yeah.
So that's the trick. That's why it's a difficult question, and that's why people get it wrong because you're right. If it was when slower vehicles is in the right lane and you're in the left, you can, of course, overtake in the left because you've got no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This has been a really hard test, Mehmet, you know.
Mhm.
I really think you've actually learned a lot from this session, more than you realize, because I don't think I've seen as hard a test as that for a long, long time. So well done, and
Thank you.
yeah, well done, and hopefully you'll take note of some of these ones now. Um, and I'm just going to pause this a wee sec. Okay. Okay, let me just stop that wee sec.